So humor and levity and love and most of all, just compassion.
You do a great job in the movie. We even get to hear.
Hollywood thrives on scandal, but few stories have struck such a deep emotional chord as the recent revelation surrounding Caitriona Balfe, the poised, private actress long admired for her grace both on and off the screen, and her longtime co-star Sam Heughan. For over a decade, the two have danced on the edge of speculation and silence, their connection rumored but never confirmed, their affection glimpsed only in fleeting glances and unspoken tenderness. So when, after 4 years of marriage to a non-celebrity husband, Caitriona quietly announced her divorce, issuing only a short, dignified statement that read, "We have decided to separate amicably. It was our mutual choice, and we continue to respect each other." It was as though the world exhaled in disbelief. No public drama, no tears on social media, no blame or bitterness, only silence. A silence that carried far more mystery than words ever could. Even her closest friends were caught off guard, unaware that her marriage had been quietly unraveling for months beneath her calm exterior. Yet it was not the divorce itself that sent shockwaves through the industry, but what followed soon after. Just 3 days later, the paparazzi caught sight of Caitriona at a private party at Edinburgh's Balmoral Hotel, and by her side, unmistakable even in the grainy nighttime photographs, was Sam Heughan. The images spread across the internet within hours, igniting a storm of speculation. They weren't merely standing together for the cameras. They were laughing, leaning close, sharing looks that spoke of something deeper, something long contained. An eyewitness at the event described the atmosphere with hushed awe. She arrived late, and Sam stood at the door waiting for her, not for publicity, but with the natural courtesy of a man who still remembers how to love. When they finally sat down, conversation around them faded. There was no theatrical display, no performance. Only the gentle warmth between two people who had lived for years in the public eye but kept their truest selves hidden behind the curtain. The world, predictably, asked the question that had lingered since Outlander's first season. Were they ever just friends? Or was this the love story that had been suppressed for 10 long years finally finding its moment of freedom? Their story, or rather, the story that everyone thought they knew, began in 2013, when Sam and Caitriona were cast as Jamie and Claire Fraser, the soul-bound lovers whose chemistry defined Outlander's global success. From the very first screen test, their connection seemed fated. Directors called it immediate, effortless, and beyond acting. Fans were quick to believe that no one could portray such intimacy without some reflection of truth. But both actors, with an elegance rare in an era of oversharing, insisted that their bond was built on friendship and professional respect. "She's my best friend," Sam would say, smiling in interviews. Caitriona echoed the same, "We're like family." Yet behind the carefully measured words, insiders whispered about the moments unseen. Sam waiting in the rain outside the studio just to hand her a coat, Caitriona calling him her safe space, or the way his eyes softened every time she spoke. They were never just friends, confessed one former production assistant. It was obvious to everyone on set that something existed between them, something deep but unspoken. For years, they lived under the weight of that silence, bound by a mutual promise to protect what could not survive the light of public scrutiny. Caitriona once admitted during an interview in 2020, "If Sam and I were in a relationship and went public, people would stop seeing Claire and Jamie. They'd only see Caitriona and Sam." It was a statement meant to maintain professional boundaries, yet it revealed something else entirely, the presence of emotion too real to dismiss. Sam, too, gave away fragments of truth in his own words. "Kat is a huge part of my life," he once said quietly. "But there are things we must sacrifice to keep what's most precious." Those words resonated like a confession disguised as humility. Perhaps what they were protecting was not only their careers, but the fragile, sacred space between them. The one place in their world not touched by cameras or opinion. Hollywood is not kind to private souls. It thrives on exposure, on feeding the audience the illusion that it has access to everything. For years, the media tried to break them, inventing stories, twisting rumors, linking every gesture to romantic speculation. Yet through it all, both Sam and Caitriona maintained their silence. They appeared together at red carpet events, smiling for the cameras, speaking with the affectionate ease of longtime colleagues, yet always keeping an invisible distance, close enough to touch, but never crossing the line that would confirm what everyone already sensed. Their fans, torn between fantasy and admiration, created theories, dissected interviews, analyzed photos, and even coined hashtags like #SamCatForever, turning the duo into a myth of modern television. But myths, like secrets, can only remain hidden for so long. Caitriona's sudden divorce brought the old speculation roaring back, not as idle gossip, but as a possibility. Some saw it as coincidence. Others whispered it was fate catching up after a decade of restraint. Hollywood is not kind to private souls. It thrives on exposure, on feeding the audience the illusion that it has access to everything. For years, the media tried to break them, inventing stories, twisting rumors, linking every gesture to romantic speculation. Yet through it all, both Sam and Caitriona maintained their silence. They appeared together at red carpet events, smiling for the cameras, speaking with the affectionate ease of longtime colleagues, yet always keeping an invisible distance, close enough to touch, but never crossing the line that would confirm what everyone already sensed. Their fans, torn between fantasy and admiration, created theories, dissected interviews, analyzed photos, and even coined hashtags like #SamCatForever, turning the duo into a myth of modern television. But myths, like secrets, can only remain hidden for so long. Caitriona's sudden divorce brought the old speculation roaring back, not as idle gossip, but as a possibility. Some saw it as coincidence. Others whispered it was fate catching up after a decade of restraint. "They've always been each other's constant," a close friend reportedly said. Even when life took them in different directions, they always found their way back. Whether that means the Balmoral meeting was a reunion of lovers or merely the gentle comfort of two souls who've endured the same storm remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: the affection between them has never been extinguished, only transformed. Observers at the Balmoral event described how they seemed lost in conversation, laughing about old memories, their body language natural and unforced. There was no need for performance because theirs was not the beginning of something new, but the continuation of something that had never truly ended. Some even claimed that the song, playing as they left, an old Scottish ballad, mirrored the lyrics of one of Outlander's most emotional scenes, as if life itself were echoing art. When asked later about the event, Sam reportedly smiled and said, "We've been through a lot together. Sometimes it's just good to see an old friend." Yet the way he paused before the word friend only deepened the mystery. To the public, their relationship remains an enigma, neither confirmed nor denied, suspended between truth and legend. But to those who have watched them for years, the evidence lies not in photographs or statements but in the subtle language of familiarity. The way they mirror each other's gestures, the way their smiles soften when they share the same space, the quiet tenderness that refuses to fade. Perhaps their bond has never needed definition because it exists beyond it, something purer than publicity, more enduring than fame. In an age where love is often performed for likes and headlines, Sam and Caitriona's connection feels almost rebellious in its privacy. And so, as the world continues to speculate, they continue to move quietly through it. Two people bound not by contract or confession, but by something infinitely rarer. The understanding that some relationships are not meant to be owned by the public, only lived in silence. Whether their reunion marks the rekindling of a long-suppressed love or simply the return of two souls who have never stopped belonging to each other, one truth remains: that after a decade of restraint, sacrifice, and unspoken devotion, the greatest love stories are not the ones shouted from rooftops, but the ones whispered in rooms where only two people will ever know what truly passed between them.
Flan.
Flan! Don't ask her what food dish I would be.
Actually, you would be flan, and he's like creme brulee. He's
All right.
creme brulee.
Their careers, their friendship, and their unspoken respect for one another had always been the foundation upon which everything else was built. Yet it was also the very thing that forced them to live behind a wall of secrecy and restraint. It was this delicate balance, this silent sacrifice, that made their story all the more mysterious and irresistible to the public eye. Every gesture, Every glance, every coincidence between Sam Heughan and Caitriona Balfe had become the subject of fascination, a code that fans and journalists alike longed to decipher. And when the Balmoral Hotel photographs surfaced, those elusive, almost cinematic images of them together, laughing quietly, touching hands in the way that only two people with history can, it was as though 10 years of whispers and rumors suddenly caught fire again. Yet what most people did not know was that this was not a public event, not another Hollywood gala filled with flashing cameras, but a private gathering, a discreet after-party marking the quiet completion of a project neither of them had officially been linked to. The fact that they were both there, side by side, smiling without caution or pretense, was enough to send ripples through every corner of the entertainment world. An entertainment reporter who happened to be stationed outside the Balmoral later recalled the sight with fascination. "It wasn't staged," he said. When they left, Sam placed his hand gently on Caitriona's back. Not the kind of gesture meant for cameras, but something instinctive, something old. She smiled up at him. Not the kind of smile you give to a colleague or for publicity, but the easy, radiant smile of someone who feels safe. The observation fueled the growing suspicion that this was not merely a professional reunion, but the quiet reawakening of something long buried. And when it was discovered the next morning that the two had checked out of the hotel just minutes apart, not together, yet far too close in timing to be pure coincidence, the internet erupted with theories. Was it planned? Was it a cover? Was it the first step toward something that had been waiting to surface for years? Within hours, social media became a battlefield of emotion. Hashtags like #SamCatFinally and #CatDivorceSaga began trending worldwide. Fans who had followed their story since Outlander's earliest days were divided. Some celebrated, believing this was destiny finally reclaiming its right moment. Others felt deceived, as though they had been denied the truth of a love that had quietly existed in the shadows all along. One viral comment captured the mood perfectly. "I don't care whether they've been together or not. If they've had to hide something so beautiful for 10 years just to protect it, then they deserve to live it freely now." It was both a plea and a benediction, an expression of understanding from a public that had long romanticized their chemistry, but perhaps never truly grasped the weight of what it cost them. The reactions within the industry were equally telling. A well-known director who had once worked closely with both posted cryptically on X, formerly Twitter, "If their feelings are real, then I understand why they hid them." Hollywood has never been kind to pure relationships. His words spoke volumes about the machinery of fame, the way it devours. Sincerity turns tenderness into spectacle and leaves very little room for truth. In an environment where every emotion risks becoming content, perhaps silence had been their only protection. Then came the posts that broke the internet. Only a few hours after the photographs spread across tabloids and entertainment blogs, Sam Heughan shared an image on Instagram. A Scottish sunset, bathed in amber and gold, accompanied by a single caption, "Some things are worth the wait." It was ambiguous enough to be innocent, yet intimate enough to set hearts racing. Minutes later, Caitriona posted a fleeting story on her account. One word, simple and devastating, "Finally." Together, the two posts ignited a frenzy of interpretation. Were they communicating with each other publicly for the first time? Were these cryptic confirmations or merely coincidences amplified by collective desire? Some insisted it was deliberate, a poetic exchange years in the making. Others dismissed it as playful mischief between old friends. But the timing, so perfect, so impossibly aligned, left few convinced it was mere chance. In the wake of those posts, speculation turned into obsession. Tabloids dissected every frame of video, every possible connection between their recent professional commitments, even the way their social media activity overlapped. Conspiracy threads argued that they were collaborating on a secret project, perhaps a new film or documentary, while romantics insisted this was the long-awaited unveiling of their hidden love. For years, their story had been defined by restraint. The lingering gazes during interviews, the affectionate teasing that stopped just short of confession, the protective way they spoke about each other in the press. Yet now, in the aftermath of Caitriona's quiet divorce, it was as if the universe itself had shifted. The barriers that had once made honesty impossible, fame, contracts, reputations, personal ties, had finally dissolved, and still neither of them spoke. Nos tatemens, no clarifications, no deniaus. The silence was deafening, but it also carried a strange power. It left space for imagination, for interpretation, for the possibility that what everyone hoped might actually be true. Caitriona, who had always been fiercely private about her personal life, maintained that dignity even now, refusing to turn her heartbreak or happiness into spectacle. Sam, equally discreet, continued to post his usual mixture of outdoor landscapes, charity updates, and motivational reflections. But those who followed closely noticed subtle changes: longer captions, more introspective tones, and an unmistakable undercurrent of emotion. Behind the scenes, close friends spoke quietly of the loyalty that had always bound them. "They've been through everything together," one insider claimed. "Career struggles, fame, heartbreak. They've seen each other at their most vulnerable. Whatever exists between them isn't simple romance. It's something deeper, a bond that doesn't need to be defined." Others described their connection as unbreakable, forged in years of shared